Well, it's time to take another look at Superman being terrible. In this case, it's 1968. It's the comic book Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. And the cover promises that basically Superman has somehow gotten Lois up in space and is breaking her oxygen tether and is going to kill her because she won't marry him. So, and he's grinning away. He's getting away with it. Um, is this what's going on? Is Superman a space murderer? Let's dig in. Hey everybody, this is Perch. The comic book Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane was usually written from the perspective of Lois, but it often had a lot of things to do with Superman. He was a core part of that book, of course. And there was a little bit of a habit where the cover was not indicative of what was going on inside, or rather it was like a wah kind of moment, and then you would actually read the comic and it would make sense. In this case, this cover has gone around a bunch, and it's Superman. It's because Superman's grinning away. I think right there. That's why. That's really why it gets the reaction it does, because Superman is smiling as he's basically snapping Lois's oxygen to her space capsule, and Lois is saying, "Superman, snap my air hose because I won't marry him. He's committing the perfect murder." And no witnesses in outer space. I have to imagine Neil Adams, I mean, in DC at the time, just loved doing these covers because there's always it was a way to kind of draw this iconic Superman just being a complete dick. But at any rate, what's going on in this comic? So as we get into it, we learn that basically Lois has moved off. She's gone across the country. And a month ago, she left, and she's left the Daily Planet. She's doing something else, and Clark Kent is really sad. He's unhappy, and Perry's trying to assure him, "Don't worry, she'll be back. She's on a leave of absence. She'll be back in a few weeks." But Clark knows that basically she got fed up with waiting to become Mrs. Superman, and that she's left Metropolis forever. She changed her name to Lois Lane, and she's got a new career in Coral City. When he went to visit her, she's like, "Get out of my life, Superman." So Superman gets the idea that I know how to win her back. I'll write her a letter and at super speed, all of his thoughts. And then he basically then takes them, he grabs a typewriter ribbon container, kind of balls it up like a flying saucer, puts a letter inside, and then just slams it out of the window, and it zips across the country and into Lois Lane's mailbox. It's cool. After just a couple weeks, she's got a little house. She's got a mailbox with her name on it. It's a wonderful time, the 60s. At any rate, she sees the little tiny flying saucer go into the mailbox. She opens it up. It's a letter from Superman to Lois from Superman. And she's betting he's ready to propose, but no, she thinks if he hasn't proposed yet, he never will. And so in tears, she tears up the letter into the garbage, and Superman's staring across the country with X-ray vision, and he's sad because he sees her tearing up the letter, and he knows that now she's out of his life for good. And Lois then, a second later, though, realizes that was a mistake and goes and tries to recreate the message from the torn up pieces of paper, but is unable to do it. That's an interesting little plot back and forth. A lot happens on one page. She gets the letter. She realizes it's bad. She tears it up. Clark sees it. She tries to piece it back together and can't. So anyway, she's got a new boyfriend, Rand Kirby, the famous astronaut. And she's like, she's okay. She's going to let it go. So Superman is sitting up at the Daily Planet, realizing that the entire thing was his fault because he failed to show up at Lois's birthday. He was helping beautify the Metropolis campaign by cleaning up an auto wrecking yard. And Lois, looking like a crazy psychotic woman, shows up in the rain and says, "All this time you were playing patty cake with these old auto wrecks. Ah, ha, 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 ha." And Superman's like, "Man, bitch be crazy." So he realizes that a way to get around this would be to fly back in time. So he quickly just zips around the world a few times and flies back in time to that day so he can make it to the birthday party on time. So realizing that he went a little further back than he meant to, he decides to go ahead and mash up the cars at super speed anyway. But then in doing so, accidentally mashes the cars into the Earth's core, and this causes crazy disasters in the Earth. And so he has to kind of jump out, and he jumps out of the water with all these metal cars he's smashed into the Earth's core that could have done damage, and then throws them into the ocean where there won't be any problems. And then, but unfortunately, because of all this, it also created a whirlpool in the ocean. So then he has to go in and solve that and fix up things. And because he did this, he messed up the fishermen that were in the area. So some crazy, I'm not sure, Asian fishermen. They're colored super yellow. And they're wearing loincloths. But all right, no problem. It's the 60s. So Superman gathers up a bunch of fish for them as a thank you. And then he flies back to Metropolis, and he's like, there's something I meant to do, but I don't remember what it was. I better smash up some more cars into the ground again. And so he starts smashing away, and Lois shows up again and loses her mind and goes crazy. And Superman realizes there's no way to change history, which is a very strange lesson in time travel there from Superman. So he flies back into the present, and meanwhile, we get some adventure. This comic is quite a journey. So Lois goes to basically visit a medical experiment at the penitentiary where they're giving criminals experimental drugs for some crazy reason. So, of course, as they go in to get their experimental drugs, and it says the doctor informs the prisoner, this capsule contains mind gas, which may change your behavior pattern from that of a normal human. It's a kill or cure proposition. Like, okay. So the prisoners line up for this, but immediately they try and break free and they run amok. But Lois is able to subdue them with, Kandor karate. And Superman shows up immediately, and he's going to rescue Lois. But Lois gets sprayed in the face with the mind gas, and the bad news. So then she passes out and heads to the hospital wing. So Superman's checking up with her on her bed, and she recovers. She realizes she can read his thoughts, and what she sees is him wanting to kind of make out with her on the hospital bed. And she's awake at least, so that's good. But anyway, she knows that it's just an act, that he's excited to be with her. But she's now feeling like she has the upper hand. She is mean to Superman, and then reads his mind again to see him and her in a wedding dress and him flying her off to the Fortress of Solitude. And she's really, and she realizes that Superman's lines about not wanting to marry her because she's being in danger was truthful. So anyway, then he takes off. And so she realizes, I'll go back to Metropolis now, and I'll be back with Superman, and that's great. So everything will work out just fine. So she goes to a soiree with her new boyfriend, and she's going to tell him that basically she's in love with Superman, but then thinks, nah, not tonight. He's going in space tomorrow. Plus, he gives her some jewelry. So she's like, he's so happy. I can't break him off with him tonight. And plus, he's just given her his mother's bracelet, an heirloom, which always goes to the newest bride in the family. So he's basically proposing to her. So she's like, man, I got it. Now I'm in a pickle. I want to be back with Superman, but I've got this famous space astronaut, and he's wanting me too. So the only thing to do is to kind of eventually figure out how to break the news. But just then she gets another vision of Superman up in space, trapped by kryptonite, which this probe somehow gathered as part of its minerals. And she tries to warn the NASA, but they're like, nah, they're not interested. So she realizes the only way to do things is to go up in space, because if Superman goes up and he's not warned, then he's going to die, and then her new boyfriend is going to go up and he's going to die. So basically, one of these guys, she gets crazy eyes and she sneaks onto the to the ship posing as a robot. And so she gets in there and she trades places with this robot, and they go up off into space, and she leaps out of the ship, and her boyfriend's like, "What are you doing, Lois? You can't go out there." So she floats over to save Superman, who's trapped and having a nap on the kryptonite, and slowly pulls him back. But in doing so, her tube tangles up with her boyfriend's tube. The air breathing hose gets knotted up. So Superman needs to move fast. He flies over and he snaps the cord so she can basically be free. She sees him snapping the cord and immediately assumes that he must have gone insane with jealousy. He's murdering both people and there's no witnesses. It's a perfect crime. But a few minutes later, Lois comes to, and they explain it all, that it was just a happy misunderstanding. Superman was actually trying to save both their lives. And unfortunately, her ESP powers are not working. Maybe she's lost them for good. Nobody knows. Her new boyfriend's like, "Well, you said it over your headpiece that you're Superman's girl, and you really didn't love me. So let's just have one more big kiss to say goodbye." And he gives her a big old kiss, and Superman kind of watches this from the distance and then flies her off. And she's happy. Wonderful is the word, because now she really knows that Superman loves her, and it's romance, folks. It's romance and a little bit of murder, but mostly romance. Mostly romance. So there you go. That's the comic. There was a backup story, but that's the primary comic. The backup story involves Lois doing some house cleaning and Superman pretending to be a kite, and Lois is painting a tiger. I mean, this was a strange time in comics. This was a very, very strange time. But what did we learn? We learned that Superman does truly love Lois. This was part of the romance era of DC, sort of. It was kind of romance. It was also Superman, going back in time, and a lot of crazy stuff back in the old 60s. But what are you going to do? That's the background to this crazy cover that we've seen a lot of Superman snapping that hose. What it was all about in the pages of that comic. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, do you like this era of comics? Is this fun to you? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, but most importantly, thanks for listening.